Sorry we're a few minutes late out in Zoom world. Welcome. Those of you following us on Facebook, welcome to all of you. Last week's class we spoke about the college campuses. Somehow it went viral and it's been spread now all over the place. And it was just a spirit of the moment thought. I want to go back to the subject I wanted to speak about last week that I did tease you a little bit at the end, talking about the passing of the baton. For those of you that weren't here, those of you listening that didn't hear last week's class, let me just set the scene. We were speaking about how every 4 years in the Olympics, there's one of the sports is the relay race. And the relay race has 4 contestants on the same team representing the same country, and each one will run their laps. When they finish their laps, they're going to pass the baton to the next one on their team. And that will go on for the 4 members of the team till it goes to the final, the anchor, who will run the final laps. And if he comes in first, they all win the gold. And we spoke at length about what it's like to become an Olympic athlete. That it's not a spur of the moment decision. It's actually made many, many years in advance. And you go to an Olympic village and you live in the Olympic village. And the Olympic village controls your life. They control your calories. They control the protein that goes into your body. They control every aspect of you to get your body into the most perfect possible shape it can be, because you're going to represent the country. You're not just representing yourself. You're not just representing your family. You're not representing your community. If you're going to the Olympic Village, you're there to represent your country. And they take that quite seriously. And they want to pick the very best, and they want to mold you into being the very, very best. When I visited the Olympic Village in Colorado, I believe we spoke to the trainer of Michael Phelps, who told us, I didn't see Phelps, but they told us the regimen that he has to go through every single day to keep his body in perfect shape. Because, as I mentioned, it's a difference perhaps of 100th of a second. It's that small of a difference between first place and second place, between the gold and the silver. The gold medal gets your face on the box of Wheaties. The silver medal is you totally forget about. You don't remember. Now, it's 100th of a second difference. They're pretty good, right? That's the way it is. First place gets the prize, second place. I always wondered that if you come in second, are you more depressed than the person that comes in 5th?
What's wrong with that?
It's just that you were so close. With the 5th guy, I tried. Yes.
When I was a young man, I was the top distance swimmer at Brooklyn Technical High School.
Yeah.
And I was invited to New York Athletic Club to train like that. And I said, there's...
Yeah, you didn't do it. So, what we're talking about here is, now let's suppose you make it. You make it to the state finals. You make it to the U.S. finals. And you are selected. Your team is there. You're at the Olympics. And your first runner on your team makes his run, and he builds up a slight lead over the rest of the world. Passes the baton. The passing of the baton has to be done smoothly because there can't be any dropping of the baton. Drop the baton, the race is over, because that extra second that it'll take you to bend down, pick up the baton, that will cost you the race. Second runner runs the lap, does his, gains a little more space, passes it to the third, and the third now is making their way towards you. You see the runner holding the baton. They have the lead. They're about to pass the baton to your hands, and you're about to make your run. If you run, make your run the way you know you can, the way your trials came in, you will win the gold for your team. And at that very moment, the pressure gets to you. It's too much. You're carrying it all on your shoulders. And so you see the runner coming towards you, and you say, you know what? Like Jack said, nah, it's not for me. Now, I am sure a lot of people under that stress, under that pressure, wish they never would have gotten into it. What do I need this for? But one of the motivating factors that keeps you on the court, that keeps you on the track, is the fact that you're not here just for yourself. There were 3 other guys that also gave their lives for this, that also sacrificed, that also watched every intake of piece of food that they ate, who also gave up Pringles and Mountain Dew now for 10 years. And they ran, no, that's not me, I didn't give it up for 10 years. 1 year, that's it. Those guys for 10 years, right? They worked hard too. They sacrificed too. They did their run too, and they're members of your team. You can't drop out now. It's not your race alone. It's your race and their race. You're team members. You're part of the same team. And your parents who woke up 6 a.m. to take you to track, to take you to training, the sacrifice that they made financially and their time that they put in, they're also part of your team. You can't walk out on them. And Bubby and Zadie, who flew from who knows where to be there for you, and they're there cheering you on. You can't back out on them. And everyone waving the American flag, screaming, you can't back out on them. And everyone watching it on TV or on the internet, you can't back out on them. So because of that, you grab the baton and you run. You run with everything you have. And you know all eyes are upon you. The world is watching you. Your parents are watching you. Your grandparents are watching you. Your uncle and your aunts, your schoolmates, they're all watching you. Even the teacher that kicked you out of class every time, they're watching you. And you run. And you run. Because it's not just about you. That's the story of the Jewish people. We're part of the chosen people. We are part of an unfinished race. A race we didn't start, but a race we cannot quit. For the sake of the world, a race we dare not quit. Because our lives are not ours alone. We're all part of our team. Our parents are on the team. Our grandparents are on the team. Those that survived the Holocaust are on the team. Those that didn't survive the Holocaust are on that team. Our ancestors who lived through pogroms, they're on the team. Our family tree who survived the Inquisitions and the expulsions, they're on our team. So if we go back in time, and we go back in our story, the story of the Jewish people, the story of the chosen people, and you go back to any period of time, go back to the days of the Romans' destruction of the Temple of Jerusalem, go back to the story of Masada when it took place, go back to the story of the Maccabees and the story of Hanukkah, go back to the days of Mordechai and Esther and the Jewish people in Persia, go back to the story of David and Goliath, go back to the days of Joshua and the walls of Jericho falling down, go back to the days of our ancestors, slaves in Egypt. All of these characters, they're part of our team. They ran their race. And we have to remember our teammates. We have to remember their heroics. We have to remember their sacrifice. We have to remember their way of life. We have to remember their commitment to God. And with all that in mind, take the baton in your hand, grab hold of it, and run. You see, this race began with Abraham. He was the first on the team. It began with God selecting a team, and he charged the team that your gold medal will be to be a light unto the nations. That's why you're running. This is a team that will shed goodness, spread goodness and righteousness to all of the world. A team that will demonstrate and perform acts of kindness each and every single day. Cell phones are allowed only if you play good music. The boring music, You want to play something good, we'll take a musical break, no problem. But if you can remember to put your phones on silent, I'll take questions afterwards.
I had a comment.
I'll take it soon. Let me. I'm on a roll.
I know. 5 minutes.
A team that will know that each and every moment of life must be utilized to make the world a more godly world. Moses says it best in his farewell speech to the Jewish people in the book of Deuteronomy. And I quote, he didn't say it in English, he said it in Hebrew. I'll translate. This day, God your God commands you to perform these decrees and these statutes, and you shall observe and perform them with all your heart and with all your soul. God has distinguished you today to be for him a treasured people, and to observe his commandments, and to make you supreme over all the nations that he made, for praise, for renown, and for splendor, and so that you will be a holy people to God. That was and that is our mission. And that was and that is our challenge. That's our goalpost. That's our finish line. L'sakein olam b'malchus shakai. To complete, to purify, to fix this world as the kingdom of God. To prepare the world for truly a new world order. For this were we and our ancestors chosen. And for this were we and our ancestors placed on this relay team. And we were given the baton to pass from one member to the next, from one generation to the next. We were given the Torah. We were given the mitzvot. We were given the Jewish traditions. We were given Jewish morals and ethics. These are the tools that we use to fix this world. And these heroes of our past, these giants upon whose shoulders we stand, these teammates of ours, our grandparents, they didn't have it easy. And yet they did their job. They held their baton. They held it in the most difficult and challenging of times. They held it through fire and through hell. And yet no Roman, no Nazi, no communist, no one could get them to drop the baton. Beat them they could, expel them they could, murder them they could, but we wouldn't drop the baton. No one can get us ever to stop running. You could never get the Jews to quit the race. Proof, we're sitting here today. I heard the story of a Russian couple that lived in Russia. They had a child, a baby boy. The couple, they were not religious. They were Jewish, but not religious. And the woman sought out to find a mohel, someone who does a circumcision. This is back in the 70s, days of Brezhnev. And it wasn't today where public Jewish life is back on, that you can have synagogues, you can send your kids to Jewish schools. This was in the days when it was not legal. So to find someone that still performed circumcision was a challenge. But you could find. You asked enough people and you found. So the bris wasn't done on the 8th day until you found someone. And it wasn't done publicly, and they didn't serve bagels and lox. It was a secret ceremony that was done in quiet with just a few family members there. And it was done here about 30 days after the baby was born. The mohel makes the blessings, does the circumcision, all the rituals done properly in this little apartment somewhere in Russia. The mother asks right after the bris is done if she can take her child alone into her bedroom just for a moment. Sure. She takes the child into her bedroom. A few seconds later, they hear a noise. And they hear the baby crying. So immediately the husband rushes into the room. And he sees that his wife is holding the baby, but she had fainted. She fainted, holding the baby. The baby is crying, and the mother fainted. And they quickly bring her back. And when she's back to herself, they ask her, what happened? So she says this. When I became pregnant with this child, my father became ill at the same time. I would visit him quite often. And he told me that he worried that he wasn't going to survive up until the baby's born. He didn't think he was going to make it. And he said to me, although I didn't raise you with any Jewish tradition, it wasn't by choice. We weren't allowed to. We were afraid. And so we dropped it all. But I want you to promise me that if you happen to have a boy, you'll find a way to give the boy a circumcision. That's the one thing I ask. The rest of Jewish tradition I understand is too difficult. But that my grandson would have a circumcision is something that's important to me. My father was right in that he did not make it until the baby was born. He passed away a few months ago. And there was a boy. And I was afraid that I wasn't going to fulfill the promise because I was scared. But at the same time, it's a promise I made my father. So I need to keep it. But I'm afraid. So this is what I did. I took an oath. And the oath was that I'm going to find a way to fulfill the promise I made to my dying father. And the only way I can guarantee that I would fulfill this oath was I said I would not kiss my baby until the circumcision was done. That's the only way I knew I would keep it. Do you know what it's like to have a baby and not kiss your baby? Do you know what it's like to nurse your child and not kiss your child? Do you know what it's like to rock your baby to sleep and not kiss your baby? For 30 days I waited to kiss my child. And so as soon as the circumcision was over, I wanted that first kiss in private. And the emotion and the passion that went into that first kiss, I lost it, I fainted. Those are the heroes that came before us that held that baton. They held on to it with so much stacked against them, so much difficulty. They weren't necessarily religious, observant, orthodox. There were no labels. They were heroic Jews trying to hold a baton in any way that they could. And they held on tight. She wouldn't drop the baton. She wouldn't quit the race. How could she? It was her father's race too. So they held on tight and they made sure to pass on this heritage, the mitzvot, whatever way they possibly can. This mission to the next runner, to the next runner, to the next generation, to their children and to their grandchildren. And they dreamed of a day that Judaism would be able to be practiced openly and proudly and without fear, without intimidation. They dreamed of a day that they could see the finish line. They dreamed of today, when most Jews living anywhere in the world today are allowed to practice. Do you know that for thousands of years you couldn't make that statement? For thousands of years you couldn't say what I just said. Some 95% of the Jews in the world today could practice, live in places where they're allowed to practice, can go to a synagogue, can send their kids and have a Jewish education, can have a mole come to their house and have a party and do the circumcision. That's the dream that all of our past generations had, to continue passing the baton and passing the baton. I know we're going through difficulties today with the college campuses and with Israel, but still, do you realize how easy it is to be a Jew today in comparison to any time before? You know, the Jews of the Soviet Union used to always have to turn around that maybe some KGB agent was following them. Yeah, they had synagogues, but it was packed with agents. And everyone knew it. They had to be afraid of everything they did. How many of our grandparents and great-grandparents lived in Europe, lived under periods of time, under leaderships that wouldn't allow them to be who they wanted to be, and they did everything in hiding? How many of our stories of Jewish history is about Jews hiding in some basement, in some cellar, in some attic? We hide no more. We're able to be proud of who we are. We're able to walk in the street with a yarmulke on our head. We're able to go to any shul we want. No one is not allowing us. The only one that doesn't allow us is we ourselves. We're the only ones stopping us. You know, Jewish women used to want to go to the mikveh. They couldn't build a mikveh. It was illegal. So they literally would go to frozen lakes with picks to knock open a hole and use frozen water to go into a mikveh. The heroes of the past. Today, you have mikvehs that look like beautiful spas. Temperature is beautiful. Everything is beautiful. Everything is prepared for you. What about kosher? Since the days of manna from heaven, keeping kosher has never been as easy. You know how many kosher restaurants there are now in the world? And it used to be a kosher restaurant was, they served the corned beef sandwich at deli. That's the kind I like, right? The names of these restaurants, if you want Chinese kosher, you can have Chinese. You want Mexican kosher, you can have that. Any nationality kosher, you can have that. Every day in Manhattan, they're opening up another fancy kosher restaurant. So it's not just delis anymore. You have here in Oxnard, you have the winery, has a beautiful restaurant. You have in the Valley, you have in Los Angeles. We have here Pizza Nosh. It's the most famous pizza shop in all of the world. People come from all over the world to visit Pizza Nosh. You hear me out there in the Zoom world? You come to Agura, you'll visit the Chabad, but you have lunch at Pizza Nosh. You hear in the Gorillas, you have a store here called Conejo Kosher. A kosher grocery store in the Conejo Valley. And it's happening everywhere. Forget about even markets and kosher restaurants. Supermarkets have kosher sections. You ever go to Ralph's in La Jolla, California? Yeah, you see the size of their kosher section? It's unbelievable. The same they have in Sherman Oaks. You know, it's all available. No one's stopping us. It's all up to us now. Take the baton in your hand and run. And through it all, through all the glory days, through all of our people's history, even through the darkest of days, our teammates, they lit those Shabbos candles. They made the Kiddush. Challah is as an ancient of food as there is on the universe. Every bubby made challah. You walked into a house on Friday afternoon, you knew it was Friday because the house smelled Shabbos. Shabbos had a certain smell. It was the combination of the challah and the gefilte fish and the cholent getting ready and the kugels coming out. We did it all through all of history. We held on to Shabbos. We held on to kosher. We held on to mikveh. We held on to Jewish education. We held on to matzah. We held on to shofar. We held on to that baton. They didn't run this race for 3,000 years for us to quit now. For the generation that has it all to walk off the track and to say, I don't need the pressure. Just like my Olympic example of the anchor of the race, seeing the guy coming to him with the baton and saying, I've had enough, he can't, he's got to run his lap. We have to run our lap. So when you think of our heritage and you think of our history and you think of our ancestors, we can't view them as some once upon a time story. Their memory has to motivate us for continuity, to continue to go on as Jews, as proud Jews, as victorious Jews, as gold medalist Jews. Now for many, some of this sounds difficult. I'm throwing out Shabbos at you and kosher and mikveh and schools, and you're saying, I hear what you're saying, your relay race, the Olympics, the teammates, the baton. I'm agreeing, very, very nice. I don't want to let my teammates down, but I wasn't raised with all of this. And I haven't practiced this in many years, and it's just not me. Whatever excuse your mind is telling you as you're hearing these words, agreeing with the principles I'm saying, but what he's asking is way too much. There's only one answer I can give you. It's called exercise. Start small. Start with something. Don't take it all on. Some of us are out of shape. Some of us have putting on a few extra pounds. So if you don't want to take the easy way out, Ozempic, you go to someone in the medical world, they'll say, you need to start working out, you need to start exercising. Now, if you haven't done it in years and you try running a mile, you're going to collapse after about 20 feet. So what does the trainer tell you? They have these great apps right now. You download this app and every day it tells you, today you're just going to run a little bit and you're going to walk a little bit. Tomorrow, same. The third day, maybe we'll increase it or drop. But if you continue to increase and increase in small increments, it becomes natural to you. It's no longer this great strain. You're able to handle it. Your body gets used to it. no different in the world of Judaism. It's no different in the world of Jewish observance, of the world of mitzvos. You start with some stretches. A little mitzvah here, a little mitzvah there. A little walk, a little jog. One Shabbos a month you go to shul. Again, I'm not saying this to those that go every week to now stop going 3 times. That's not the point. But if you don't go at all, and I don't judge anybody, for whatever reason it's not for you, try once a month. Try once a month. If going from 10 o'clock to 1 o'clock is too long, 3 hours in the synagogue, I'm going to go out of my mind. Pick an hour. Pick an hour every hour. If you want to pick the 12 to 1, you get the kiddush at the end. I'm not again, that's just a secret. You pick any part of it, but once a month. Once a month is too much. Once in 2 months. You start what you can do. No one is judging you. You're making your own checklist. No one is making it for you. You pick. You're not used to kosher. So you start slow. Instead of going to a non-kosher restaurant one time, you go to a kosher restaurant. Maybe you'll like it. Maybe start by just separating milk and meat and get used to that in your house. You're ready to go to the next level, you'll take the next level. You do it at your pace. You pick any mitzvah that you can do and just start running your race. You start loosening up. You get those Jewish bones working, those Jewish muscles going. You get the neshama cooking a little bit. You get your Jewish soul on fire. You put up a mezuzah on the front door of your house. Do you already have it on the front door of your house? Do you have one on your bedroom door? You have one on your bedroom door? What about the rest of the house? You start and you do. You know, there's a Chabadnik that asks someone to put on tefillin. That's what we do. And he says, no, I'm not religious. And the Chabadnik tries something different. He says, oh, I have a peer for the non-religious ones. Oh, okay, you didn't say that. You got the non-religious film. That's right, I got the non-religious ones. When we start working out what happens, it becomes part of our daily lives. And then we can't go a day without the run, without the exercise. And it begins to feel good. It feels right. Even when the muscles ache, even when you're schwitzing away, you feel good running. Why? Because now your body is calling for it. Your body is used to it. Your body feels better with it. The same is with Judaism. You know, I have this strange experience always in the summertime. I'm walking to shul. I live about 0.9 miles from the house. And we wear the Hasidic garb on Shabbos. It's the long black coat. So we're dressed in, we have the tzitzis underneath, we have the shirt, then we have the Hasidic garb on top, and it's 110 degrees out there. And you're making your walk to shul. And it's always this similar encounter. So I'm walking down Reyes Adobe, and some jogger is running towards me, right? And the jogger always looks up and does the glance. They smile, but I know what they're thinking. How insane is this guy to dress this way when it's 110 degrees? So that's what his eyes are saying to me. What he doesn't know is what I'm saying back. You're out here in your underwear, sweating away, every bone in your body is hurting, and you have 10 miles to go, and you think, I'm crazy? But the truth is, each of us are doing what we're accustomed to do. The jogger can run 10 miles in 110 degrees. I could walk to shul in 110 degrees. Why? Because that's what we're used to doing. And when you get used to doing something, it becomes natural for you. So you get used to it. You start with small baby steps. And as time goes on, everything becomes easier. And it's not as uncomfortable. And it feels better. Changes in life might be difficult, but it's a necessity. As human beings and as Jews, we have to grow. We have to move forward. We have to advance. We have to progress. I've often said that life is like an escalator, but not the way you may think. You know, generally when you think of an escalator, you get up on the bottom step, you stand there, it takes you up to the top, right? Within 20 seconds, you're up on the top floor. You didn't have to race up all the steps. No effort, no exertion of energy. That's not what life is. Life is like an escalator, only you're trying to go up the escalator that's coming down. So now you're going against it. So you remember in the mall as kids we used to try doing that? The escalator's coming down and you're going to try to run up. It takes you a longer time to get to the top and it takes a lot more effort. Well, life is that way. We have to exert some effort, some energy to keep moving. It doesn't happen automatically. Life doesn't happen that you step up on the bottom and you just find yourself on the top. Every day takes effort on your part. If we're going to be worthy members of the team, if we're going to represent our people, if we're going to represent our heritage, we have to start making changes in our lives, even if those changes are small. There's a parable that I've told probably more than any other story I've ever told. I heard this the first year I was a rabbi, and it's a story that just says it all to me. It's a parable. The parable is of a father and a son. The father is a very successful businessman, quite wealthy man. The son is in school, but he drops out, not doing well in school at all. He's doing nothing with himself, he's just staying home. Although the story takes place in the 1900s, let's just say all he does all day is he's playing Xbox at home. He's just playing video games all day long. The father's concerned about his son. School, not for him. Xbox, what's he going to do all day long? So he tells his son, listen, son, you should become a businessman. If you're not going to go to school, at least become a successful businessman, and I'll teach you the trade because I'm a successful businessman. The truth of the matter, my dear son, business comes down to one concept completely. You buy wholesale, you sell retail. That's what it's ultimately all about. When you buy wholesale, you're buying at a cheaper price because you're buying in bulk. When you sell retail, you're marking the price up. And because you mark the price up, there's a profit. And now the trick is, you don't take the profit and put it in your pocket. You now go back to the wholesale marketplace and you buy even more stuff. Because now you can buy more than the last time because you have the profit. And you keep doing this again and again and again, and you'll be like me. It's that simple. The son says, wow, I can be a successful businessman too. Father says, I'm going to start you off, son. Here's a sack of gold coins. I want you to go to the next city. They have a wholesale marketplace there. I want you to take these gold coins. I want you to invest it. I want you to buy something. Buy a product wholesale. Make sure you get a good price for it. Bring back the product to the town here. We don't have a wholesale market here. Here we have retail markets. You'll sell the product that you buy wholesale here one at a time. You'll make a profit, and you'll do it again and again. The son is so happy. He's on top of the world. Thank you, Dad. Thank you, Dad. This is great. He takes the sack of gold coins. He goes to this neighboring town. He finds this wholesale marketplace, and he's standing there holding the sack of gold coins, looking for a deal. While some hungry salesman is there, sees this naive-looking kid, and he says, son, would you like to buy something wholesale? And the kid says, yeah. Look how easy this is. Come with me. And they go to a warehouse. In the warehouse, there's wagons, 10 wagons. The hungry salesman says to the naive kid, I will give you all 10 wagons filled with merchandise for one small sack of gold coins. What's in the wagons? Wagons? Toothpicks. All filled with toothpicks. You will have billions of toothpicks for one small sack of, wow, this is great, billions, wow. Dad's gonna be so proud. He gives over the sack of gold coins and he comes parading home with 10 wagons. The father is looking and he sees 10 wagons coming to the house. He sees his son in front of it. Wow, son, what did you get? What did you get? He says, Dad, you're gonna be so proud. I did exactly what you said. Went to the neighboring city. I went to the marketplace. I found a deal. I found a deal, Dad. All these wagons, all mine for one small sack of gold coins. What's in the wagon, son? Toothpicks. Toothpicks? Toothpicks. Billions of toothpicks. He says, you have more toothpicks than the town has teeth. What are we going to do with 1 billion toothpicks? It's going to take years and years and years to sell. What are you, crazy? I thought you were smart. I can't believe I trusted you with this. And the son is all embarrassed, all insulted. Here he thought he was going to get praise from his father, and he's being ridiculed by his father. He runs to his room and he's crying away. The next day the father feels bad. He didn't treat his son nicely. He ridiculed him. And the truth is, he gave him a 5-minute lesson in business. He calls the son out and he says, you know, son, it was my fault. I apologize for the way I handled it. I apologize for anything I said to you that hurt your feelings. I'm sorry. I shouldn't have done it. What I failed to tell you in my short course on business is there's something else called marketing. You need to think about the product you're buying, how you can market it. It means, can you sell it? Can you sell the product? So before you make the deal, you got to stop and think, can I sell this? Is this sellable? So don't let them take advantage of you. I'm going to give you another sack of gold coins. You're going to go back again. You're going to try this again. But this time, stop and think. Marketing. Can we sell the product? Thank you, Dad. I won't let you down. Thank you for believing in me. He's off the next day, back to the same place. Hungry businessman comes up to him and says, son, would you like to buy something wholesale? He's not going to be taken advantage of this time. No. First, I need to know what the product is. Come with me. To the warehouse they go. 10 wagons again. 10 wagons. What's in the wagons? Shofars, ram's horns. Kid thinks to himself, it's a month before Rosh Hashanah. What better time to sell shofars than a month before Rosh Hashanah? I can see the ad now. Do you have your shofar yet for Rosh Hashanah? He makes the deal. He comes parading home. 10 wagons. Father's there waiting for him. Son, what did you get? He says, you're going to be so proud because I did exactly what you said. I stopped and I thought, marketing, can we sell the product? It's a product we sure can sell. What did you get, son? 10 wagon loads. They're filled with shofars. Shofars? 10 wagons full of shofars. This community has one synagogue. It's got one synagogue that owns 10 shofars. No one needs a shofar of their own. They go to the synagogue to hear the shofar. Who's buying the shofars from you, son? I can't believe you're such an ignoramus. I can't believe. He starts insulting his son again. Son runs to his room crying. It's the next day. The father's got a problem. Not the son crying in the room. He gave up on that. He's got a problem that he's got 10 wagon loads on one driveway. He's got 10 wagon loads of junk on the other driveway. They're blocking his driveway. He can't get his horse and buggy onto the property because they're filled with wagons of this junk. So he calls a professional tradesman. And he says to this barterer, take these 10 wagon loads of toothpicks and trade it for anything you can get for it. I don't care. Just take it off my property. And he sends him on his way. He calls another professional tradesman. He says, I have 10 wagon loads filled with shofars. Take it. Trade it. I don't care what you get for it. I just want it off my property. And finally, he has driveways again. 2 days go by. He's sitting on his front porch of his house. He's having a cup of lemonade. And he's enjoying some relaxation when suddenly he sees a cloud of dust from the east, a cloud of dust from the west. And it's getting closer and closer. And at some point he realizes what happened and he bursts into laughter because he realizes that the tradesman with the toothpicks met the tradesman with the shofars and they swapped. And each one is coming back with the other guy's junk and the 20 wagons are right back on his property again. And he bursts out in laughter. And he's rolling on the floor in laughter. The son hears the father laughing. So the son comes out and says, Dad, what's so funny? What's so funny? You remember the stuff you bought from the marketplace? Yeah, I remember. You're going to insult me again? No, I'm not going to insult you again. But the guy with the toothpicks, I bought her. I told him to trade it. And then I told another guy to trade the shofars. And they swapped and they're coming back with all the stuff. The kid's got a straight face. And the kid says, Dad, this is so wrong. This is so wrong. When I, a naive kid who has no experience in business, when I came back with this stuff, you insulted me. You embarrassed me. You called me names. And now you hire professionals. They come back with the same stuff I came back with. And now you're laughing? Now it's funny? Why wasn't it funny when I came back with it? And the father responds, son, first, there's no excuse for the way I handled it, and I apologize again. I'm sorry. But don't compare the two. Them, I sent out with junk, and they came back with junk. A different junk, but junk. But you I sent out with gold. And if you're sent out with gold, you got to come back with something of substance. You can't come back with junk. God sends his chosen people into the world with gold. And he wants us to come back with something. He wants us to show him what we did to invest this gold that he put into us. We have to come back with the gold. I'll close with the story of Rabbi Yisrael Spiro. The story takes place in the Nazi concentration camp. Rabbi Yisrael Spiro is one of the survivors who wrote a whole book on the Hasidic tales of the Holocaust. He was known as the Bluzhever Rebbe. The Nazis, Yamach Shemam, didn't want to just kill the Jews. They wanted to humiliate them first as much as possible. So in the middle of the night, they burst into the barracks and they order everyone out of the barracks to run to an open field. These are Jews that are tired, that are beaten, that are exhausted. They arrive at the field to find this freshly dug pit forming this valley. And suddenly the voice of the Nazi commander makes it clear what this game was all about. And he says, if you dogs value your life, you must jump from one side of the pit to the other. Anyone that doesn't make it to the other will be shot immediately, and the pit becomes your grave. So if you can manage to make your jump from one side and land on the other, you live, you go back to your barracks to sleep. If you don't make it to the other side, we have guys with machine guns all around, you get shot, you die, this is your grave. Even those in their best of health would find the jump a challenge. How much more so this group of Jews who have been turned into skeletons? What chance do they have? And they form a line and they start jumping. And the shooting begins. Some and those in the best of shape made it. Many lost their lives that night. In the line is the Bluzhever Rebbe, Rabbi Yisrael Spiro. He had made friends in the concentration camp with this free-thinking secular Jew. And here they are in the line of death. And the secular Jew says to this Hasidic Rebbe, he says, Rebbe, let's just go to the front and sit down. Just go right into the pit. Let's not even give them the satisfaction of us attempting. We're both not in good shape. We're both not going to make it. They're going to shoot us. So why give them the added, excitement of seeing us try and fail? Let's walk. We just jump right into the pit and let them shoot us, and it'll be over. And we'll reach the other world in but seconds. The Rebbe says, no. Jump, we will jump. If we don't make it, as you say, we'll be in the heavenly world in a matter of seconds. But our job is to try. We have to try. It came time for the Rebbe and his friend to take their leaps. The Rebbe closes his eyes. He says the Shema Yisrael, thinking this is the last moment of his life, and he makes the leap. He opens up his eyes and he's on the other side of the pit. He made it. And there right next to him is his friend. He made it too. So the secular friend says to the Rebbe, how did you do it? How did you do it? He said, I closed my eyes. I said the Shema, and with everything in me, I made the leap. As I'm leaping, I envision my Father in heaven reaching down and putting his hand out to me to hold on to his hand, and that he will help me across. And my Father is dangling down from heaven, but I see that his grandfather is holding his hand. And above him is his Father. and this long chain that I see. So I grab hold to my father's hand, and I open my eyes, and here I am on the other side. And how did you make it over? He asks his friend. He says, oh, I was holding on to you. I was holding on to you. We each have to run our laps. In each of our lives, we have our own difficulties, but we have to hold on to each other. So long as there's Jewish unity, so long as we care about one another, we can get through any race. There is no challenge we can't face together. We have to remember at all times, we hold on to each other and we survive. In conclusion, I want you to imagine with me. So use your imaginative eyes. I want you to imagine that you're in a huge stadium and you're on the track. And the stadium is mobbed. It's packed to capacity. You look around the stands and you see many faces of the past. You see the victims of the Holocaust, they're there in the box seats. And there behind them, there's thousands of Jews from Poland. There's the Russian Jews section, there's the German Jews, Hungarian Jews, French Jews, they're all there. And all the Jews that were expelled in the Spanish Inquisition, they're there too. And all the great sages, you always heard their names. They're in the stadium. Rabbi Akiva is there. Hillel and Shammai, they're there. They're all there. The great heroes of our past. There's a section where Mordechai and Esther are, and all those that lived through the story of Purim. And Judah the Maccabee, he's there. The Baal Shem Tov is there. And then they have luxury boxes. King David has a luxury box, and he's there. And King Solomon and Joshua is there. Aaron the high priest is there. Moses is there. And standing next to Moses, there's 3 old-looking people and 4 elderly women. The patriarchs and the matriarchs, they're there too. Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, and Sarah, and Rebecca, Rachel, and Leah, they're all there. Now they're all looking at you. And they're smiling, and they're cheering, and they're screaming. Go for the gold. Go for the gold. They're yelling words of confidence that you can do it. Do it for yourself, but do it for us. Do it for all of us. Do it for God. And there on the track itself, you see your parents and your Bubby and your Zadie, and they're running towards you. And they're reaching out to you. And you to them. And they pass you a baton. Now hold that baton and run. Take the baton of Judaism and run with it. Run like you never ran before. Because they're all watching, they're all waiting, and we can't let them down. Thank you very much.